Nurse practitioners, finding a new job is a challenge, am I right? If Doc Cafe and LinkedIn aren't cutting it, check out today's sponsor, NP Hire. NPHire.com is the only job board designed exclusively for nurse practitioners. Over 100 jobs from some of healthcare's biggest employers are hiring, from telehealth to psych, acute care, and more. Visit nphire.com/success to get started. Link in the show notes. Nursing is rewarding, important, and often all-consuming. And let's face it, it's been a rough couple years. You deserve a laugh. Enter a card game called Nurses Against Insanity, a fun, slightly scandalous take on the work and life of a nursing professional. This game has over 300 cards that we hope will make you and your nursing colleagues laugh hard enough to pee, unless you've been doing your Kegels. Who should play the game? Nursing professionals in any of the various states, such as frustrated, happy, tired, and probably overworked, anyone who's recently had to clean under a funky panis, and everyone who recently thought, I'll have to laugh about this so I don't cry. Visit www.nursesagainst.insanity.com to order the game and use promo code SUCCESSNP to save 20% off your order. And happy gaming. Hi, Success NP, host here, Sandra. And we are joined today with Savannah Arroyo. She is a CEO and founder of the Net Worth Nurse and her newest fintech startup, Invest Health. She started her real estate investing at the beginning of 2020 after having her second daughter and looking for additional revenue streams. She began educating herself on real estate, and she has since she's been on our podcast back in 2020, 2021, you were on our podcast, and she has purchased over $20 million in real estate and has partnered with multiple healthcare professionals to scale her portfolio. And she's actually going to be retiring from nursing in the next couple shifts because she has just set herself up to live the dream, to live the life that she wanted to live. And she's very active on social media, sharing her story with others. And to look at her life as a nurse and mother. We're so happy to have you on again and to chat and catch up with you, Savannah. Thanks for coming back on the podcast.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
You first came on our podcast when we were the Doctor Nurse podcast. And gosh, when was that, Savannah? Episode 26. 26 was when you were on the podcast. We've got almost 100 episodes in since then. So that is nuts. Tell us a little bit about your backstory for those who maybe have never heard your story. If not, go back to episode 26, guys, and take a listen.
Absolutely. I'm a nurse. I've been working as a nurse for over 10 years. I've worked in a lot of different specialties within healthcare. Really early on into my career, I loved process improvement and operations. So I went back to school. I got my master's in nursing leadership and administration, and I started climbing the corporate ladder. I had my eyes set on becoming a CNO, a chief nursing officer. And it wasn't until 2020, after having my second daughter, that my priorities really started to shift and started looking at my very demanding work schedule, both my husband and I, and our money and just what we wanted our lives to look like in 5-10 years. And it didn't really fit what we were doing. And so it was sitting to Google and researching passive income, how to build wealth, how to start investing, financial freedom, and started researching all the things. And over again, real estate investing kept coming up. And the more we started educating ourselves on it, binging podcasts, the more we saw that this is it. This is the ticket out of the rat race for us. This is the key to financial freedom. And we went all in, have been educating ourselves ever since on different finance stuff, real estate terms, all the things. And now we are investing with other healthcare professionals. We have built a real estate investing company that allows us to invest in larger type assets like apartment complexes and mobile home parks with other healthcare professionals.
Oh, that is so cool. So you're talking about like real estate syndication deals and getting people to kind of join in and invest their money. If they don't want to get into the management of real estate, they can kind of invest from afar. So that's really, really cool. So how did you initially balance your career as a nurse and getting into real estate? Because I know that's been a challenge for sure, doing both for a period of time.
Yeah, really early on, it was finding my why, like that really strong vision of having more flexibility in my schedule, more streams of income coming in. And I just knew that my employer, my W-2 income wasn't going to be the best way anymore. And so really it was getting clear on where I wanted to go. And from there, I could see, okay, well, if I want to be here in 5 years, what do I need to be doing in the 1 year mark? What do I need to be doing really on a monthly, weekly basis to start achieving the goals, and really kind of broke it down from the end in sight. And then it really became more achievable. And then also just staying true to the vision and the main goal, especially when times got hard and things were tough.
Yeah. So in the beginning, you just had to keep the why at the forefront as you were kind of balancing in both of these spaces. And nurse practitioners have maybe a little bit more disposable income. We are maybe a little bit older. We're in that space where we're like, okay, we're thinking about what do we want our lives to look like? And why does real estate investing for you seem like this ticket to freedom? What is it that you're noticing that you're like, this was a ticket for me? What did you see?
Yeah. Well, up until that point, I had been putting away, like, ever since I started my first job as a nurse, 15 to 20% of my paycheck towards retirement. And this was a lot of money. And I had financial advisors congratulate me on this and say, you're really going to be set by the time you retire. And it just felt so defeating to hear that. It was like, I want more control of my money now. Like, how can I make it work for me now? And really getting curious on alternative methods. And I mean, this is something that a lot of us are never ever taught in school. So it really takes a lot of self education and research and connecting with people who are out there doing it, taking calculated risks early on. But there's a lot, especially in real estate investing, a lot of the risk that can be mitigated through proper research and underwriting. So when we're going out and buying a real estate asset, we can see the P&L, the profit and loss statements for the last 12 months. So we can see exactly where the money is coming and going in the building. We can come in with our investor eyes and say, okay, where's the opportunity here? Where can we improve this business model and make even more money? And once I started looking again and again at the numbers, that's when I was sold. It felt like this was the way, if you really started working towards it and could do your research on it, that you could make your money pay off for you.
Yeah, yeah. And so you're talking about your through over time and the practice that you've had investing in these real estate properties, you are looking for the opportunities to grow these properties so that the cash flow is greater, so that people that invest in these apartment complexes with you guys in your business could actually turn a profit as well. So nurse practitioners are super busy, right? We tend to work 9 to 5. It's a little bit different than the nursing schedule, right? Nurses go in, they do 3 12s or maybe 4 10s, but nurse practitioners are there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So the demanding schedules that we have often feel overwhelming when trying to get it started into real estate. So I hear what you're saying. All right. We look at these properties, we figure out ways to make money. But if you are busy and you don't have the time to do that on your own analysis of profit and loss, cash flow, all these different things, what do you recommend for a nurse practitioner who's busy that was like, hey, listen, I'm kind of interested in a little bit of this investing to do to get started?
Yeah, really education. But I always say the first question to ask yourself is, do you want to have an active role or do you want to have a passive role in real estate investing? Because there are two very different options to have an active role in real estate. And there's so many different asset classes and strategies. And so you can be building a real estate business working 60 hours a week, or you could be building a real estate business working 10 hours a week. That's really up to you and what strategy you're going to get started investing in, and what it looks like to kind of build the operations and team in that. But if you want to be active and go out and find the deal and get the financing for the property and flip it or renovate or add value in whatever way and manage a tenant in place, I mean, that's a very active role in real estate investing. But you can also get started real estate investing through syndications, which is what I mentioned earlier. So people pooling together their resources, people, limited partners or passive investors in the deal, are contributing their capital so that operators who have the experience and the track record and the skill set can go out there, buy the asset that they normally couldn't buy on their own, and then improve it to and make a profit for everyone involved. So it's really like team investing at that point.
Yeah.
And there's a lot less risk involved when you're going out and doing it in a team. There's a lot less risk when you're investing in multifamily apartment complexes as opposed to one single family home that has one tenant. If anything were to happen to that one building or that tenant, like you would be out all your income. Whereas in an apartment complex, there's many involved. It's multiple. So it's a way to kind of hedge some risk. So both avenues really present very different investing options for investors, but that's really the first direction I steer them in. Do you want to be active or do you want to be passive?
So for the nurse practitioner that's like, all right, listen, I don't have time for that. I'm down for something passive.
Yeah.
What does that look like? How would you get started in passive real estate investing?
Yeah, the great thing is that the returns that you can achieve being completely passive in the investment deals are still really big. So, for example, in our real estate syndications, our goal for investors is 100% ROI, return on investment at the end of a 3 to 5 year period. So, if an investor is investing $50,000, our goal is to get them that $50,000 that their original, and then plus another $50,000 on top of that paid out through quarterly distribution. All our investments really come out to anywhere between 15 to 25% averaged annualized returns. And this is the number that you would want to compare to the stock market,
Which is like 10,
that's
right?
around, 6-7% when you involve inflation, right? And so
Yeah.
it's a great way. Real estate hedges inflation in so many different ways. There are huge tax advantages to investing in real estate. A lot of the income you can depreciate through different tax codes, things that we do on all of our buildings. But really, to get involved as a passive investor, limited partner in a real estate syndication, it's meeting operators or syndicators in the space who are doing these type of deals. And if it's something that you've never heard of before, it could be joining communities like Bigger Pockets, setting to Google, just start searching Instagram, hashtag, real estate syndications, and start seeing the different people that are out there doing it. There's a lot of different strategies involved. So we flip apartment complexes. There's some people that buy mobile home parks and hold them for a 20-year period. The returns for those investments look a lot different. And so depending on what your goals are with investing and what returns you'd hope to achieve, that'll kind of start steering you as you start searching for different operators that are out there doing these real estate syndications. But for us, I mean, we're looking to flip apartment complexes. We're buying these from owners who have owned them for many generations. They don't have the operating reserves to really carry out any of the repairs or maintenance on the building. So the last building we bought, the roof was out and the owner didn't have enough money to replace it. And so for them, it's easier to just sell it than it is to get the money to replace it. And so this is where the opportunity lies, especially for investors like us who are looking for these value add opportunities, ways that we can force appreciation and value into these deals. And then one of the last buildings we bought, I mean, rents were 40% below market just because the owner had no interest in really increasing the rents. He didn't want to do the work to do it. And so really huge opportunity to come in and buy the building and then go in there, implement proper property management, and then start raising them. So a lot of different ways that we add value to the deal, but we invite passive investors to come along with us for the ride. So they invest and they're making great returns along the way.
That's so cool. And so when you say that you're paying out, you're saying quarterly. So people get money sent to their accounts. Is it going into investment accounts? Where can you pull this money from? Does it have to be just straight cash capital? Can it come from a 401k that you've just kind of got sitting there? How can somebody get started if they were going to give you some money? If they're like, all right, Savannah, I'll give you some cash. How do you even start? What does it take to get in the door?
Yeah, so 50,000 is usually anywhere between 25 to 50,000 you'll see as like a minimum investment.
Hey, I hate to interrupt a good conversation, but I have to tell you about the newest sponsor for the Success NP podcast. Now, do you ever feel like you can't get ahead on charting? Imagine a world where you did not have to think about writing notes again. I want to introduce to you Freed. It is an AI medical scribe built to free clinicians everywhere. It listens, transcribes, and writes instant clinical notes for you in your style. It learns how you like to write notes, and it does it for you. Free can be used across all specialties and in office, as well as virtual visits, and works in multiple languages. I use it in my current practice, and it is an absolute game changer. I've gotten other NPs to use it as well, and they echo the love for Freed AI. Freed AI is HIPAA compliant and only takes seconds to learn. Over 15,000 clinicians, including doctors, nurse practitioners, therapists, they use it to save up to 2 hours every day to free themselves from documentation. I wouldn't be on here just giving rave reviews if I hadn't tried it myself. It works so well. Start your free trial today. No credit card needed at freed.ai. Use code SuccessNP50 to get 50 off your first month when you subscribe. Attention all nurse practitioners and NP students, are you tired of feeling the disconnect between clinical rotations and didactic teaching? Say hello to Success NP's clinical booklet guides.
As NPs ourselves, we know how valuable it is to have a resource that helps bridge the gap between clinical and class. So we created the digital resource to do just that. Our clinical booklets cover 5 major NP tracks: psych, adult, peds, family, and women's health. Success NPs wants to create tools and provide support NPs need to thrive in their careers.
So why wait? Check out our Success NP Etsy shop, linked in the show notes, for our digital guides and other digital clinical resources. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
Some are the bigger deals. It'll be 100. But so to come in, liquid capital is great. You can invest through a retirement account. So any nurse they work many different jobs. So this is very applicable to nurses. If you've worked a previous job and leave the employer, you have an old 401k, really with a click of a button, you can go on there and convert it to a rollover IRA. I did this previously when I worked with Sutter Health and I had Fidelity account. When I left them, I just went on there, clicked, moved it over to a rollover IRA. And then from there, you can move it to what's called a self-directed IRA. And you can use those funds to invest in things like gold or jewelry or real estate investing. And these accounts have been around since the 70s, but the reason a lot of people haven't heard of them is many people don't want to have that much control over their investments. They don't want to be in a decision-making role where they're putting it towards something. But if you are interested in these real estate syndications and you found an operator that you want to invest with, and you want your money to be growing at a potentially better rate than the stock market, then it's a great opportunity to grab funds from an old 401k, moving into these self-directed IRA accounts. I have a great video on my YouTube channel where I talk about this process at a high level view. Very easy, but you can invest with those funds. And really the process to get started in an investment. So when we see an investment that we like, we put together a deck for it. It's like 20 slides. We talk about what market it's in, why we love the market, what the business plan is, how we plan to add the value. We show all of the numbers, our projections, the timeline pictures, all of that is detailed in this presentation. And we also, my husband and I spend 20 minutes going over it from start to finish. And then at that point, our investors get to decide if they want to invest in it. And really through our portal that we have, we love tech. With the click of a button, you can invest in it. You get access to the legal documents. So it's about 100 pages of legal documents, but very comparable to what you sign or review, even when you start into a 401k with your employer. Just most people never read it. That's pretty extensive just about the securities offering, and our investors have the ability to sign that electronically on the portal. And then once that's done, they wire over their money for the investment. And for us, we buy all cash flowing asset day one. And one of the ways that we hedge some of the risk for investors early on. So all of our investors can expect within that first quarter or second quarter to start earning distributions. And so our communication after that is every 3 months, we send out a newsletter about the property, like what's going on, the pictures, updates, full access to our financials. So we let our investors see exactly where the money is coming and going in the building. They get full quarterly financials, and then the distribution goes directly into their bank account from there every 3 months.
Wow. So then you directly get that cash, which are you able to then just use it as you want, or do you have to put it back into the investment account that you used? Some investment accounts require you to put the money back if you're using it.
If it's with the self-directed IRA, that's the only caveat, that all of the returns that you get from that investment do have to go back into that retirement account. If you're investing with liquid cash capital that you have, then you get the free will. To do with the cash whatever you want at that point.
What other experience do you have with real estate? Do you do any personal, single family homes whatsoever? So in order to get yourself financially free, which is literally happening in 2 shifts, guys, like
Yeah.
from the time we interviewed you until now, you've completely changed your life with real estate. How do you do any of that? Do you have any expertise in that area? Or is it just big apartment complexes?
Yeah. So, I mean, in 2020, it was nothing. I had no experience with real estate investing. So, I started listening to podcasts. I'd listen to Bigger Pockets, 45 minutes to my commute into work, home every day. So, I was getting 2 episodes in, an hour and a half, 5 days a week. I was reading books any chance I could get. I was buying audiobooks and listening to them when I was like on walks with my daughters. Once we decided, when my husband and I like set those clear goals and decided we were going to go all in on this, it was every night after our daughters went to bed. I mean, we'd come home, do dinner time, nap time, playtime, bedtime, and then after that we'd be grinding on it in the hours between like 8 to midnight, and then going in and working that 40-hour a week. So there was a lot of time involved for sure. There was a lot of education early on in the earlier stages, and then a lot of networking, community building. When we discovered real estate investing, we didn't have any money to start investing, but we had owned our primary residence at the time. We didn't even know it, but we had $100,000 worth of equity in it. I was so new to real estate investing, I didn't even know what that was or what I could do with it. And it was talking to a really savvy mortgage lender. It was like, oh, you want to get into real estate investing? Take out a second mortgage on your house. Rates are 4.1 right now. You could use it. And if you're investing that in an investment that's earning you 20% return, now you're getting enough money to pay back that loan every month and cash flow on top of that. So that's kind of when the aha light bulb moment went off. A lot of You'll hear in real estate investing people leveraging debt in a lot of different ways, because in no other investment can you go out and buy $1 million home for 250,000 down, usually 25% down payment. A $250,000 payment allows you to buy an investment at $1 million. There's no way you could ever do that in gold or jewelry or any other thing. And so really great ways to leverage debt and real estate investing. And so once we started learning how money worked, business credit that you could tap into, that we could go out and start buying real estate with, I took out a loan on my retirement account. So at Providence, I have Fidelity, and I took out like $50,000 at a 4.2% interest rate that now I'm going to be paying back over the next year. But it's allowing me to now build this wealth and start compounding. And so it's really a lot of these different risks, but they've been very calculated risks backed by a lot of research. My husband and I learned about real estate syndications, and then we're like, okay, we want to partner with other people. Cause at that point we had invested in a couple single family homes, and we had like friends and family like, oh, we want to get involved in real estate. They started seeing it pay off a little bit in our life. And we're like, how can we do a group investment? And so that's when we started learning about the real estate syndications. And so we went through a coaching program early on. It was $30,000. It was more than my master's degree in nursing. But for us, we were like, okay, if we're going to be raising capital from other people, investing their money, like we want to make sure we're doing everything right. Like we want to be learning from people with decades of experience who have been through a lot of the low lows and learn from their mistakes, and have them on our team looking at our underwriting and what we're doing with the investment. And so we did do a coaching program really early on, and that set us up with success in the confidence that we needed. It helped us start building that network for sure. And then social media. When I started learning about these real estate investments, and just nurses knew nothing about this, we're never taught anything. And what a disadvantage to think that the only way that you can build wealth is through your 401k and a IRA account. Like most of our taught that's the only way. And, who's to say not corrupt stuff is going on in there? We've seen the Big Short, Wall Street. Like, your money isn't more safe in the stock market. When I started learning about real estate investments, I was like, I want to share this with healthcare professionals everywhere. Like, all nurses need to learn about this way to build wealth and take their financial future into their own hands. And so that's when I started Net Worth Nurse at the end of 2020. So I've had that account over almost 5 years now, which is so crazy to think. But that has allowed me to connect with thousands of other nurses and doctors and all sorts of specialists who want to learn about real estate investing, whether actively or passively.
It looks like you have had some experience in other real estate deals, not just big apartment complexes. And you learned a lot of what you're kind of now imparting on others through that course that you took, and then also the mentorship and different things that you've been able to do by finding different people. And I heard you say leveraging the loans, and you took out money from your 401k, and that's so frowned upon, right? Like that is
Yeah.
so frowned upon. They're like, no, Dave Ramsey tells you don't ever. And so that term, if Dave Ramsey said, has been used plenty of times in my house. And so how do you leverage debt responsibly and keep in the back of your mind the goal? Because I think that's really what you're saying. Your why was really big, your goals have been big, and all your debt has been leveraged in a way towards those goals. And so it's not like you're taking out the money and, blowing it in Vegas, but it could be that you are leveraging debt in a way that is not safer, but just more calculated. What do you have for a nurse practitioner that's like, all right, Dave Ramsey said, don't pull my money out. What do you say about that? Like, how do I, how do you respond to that, nurse practitioner?
So education for sure. I mean, I loved listening to podcasts early on because especially Bigger Pockets, they have people from all walks of life, all ages, all backgrounds, all sorts of careers, and they're investing in all sorts of real estate investments, and they're sharing kind of tips and tricks of how they got started. And just hearing the stories for me over and over and over again was so powerful. It was, hearing 50, 60 stories from people of how they were making it work for them and different financial moves that they were making that were maybe non-traditional, something I've never heard of, but then you could see and they would tell in their story how it's paying off for them. And so for me, really early on, it was realizing where I was getting my financial advice from, being very discerning with whose rules I wanted to follow, I'd say. I mean, even when I took out a second mortgage on my home, like I didn't tell my parents about that. I didn't think that they would recommend that. I would whisper them in my ear, like, no, you don't want to take out a second mortgage on your home. Like, that's not the thing you want to do. I already knew what their response was going to be. And so for me, it was like, okay, well, these real estate investors who own millions of dollars in real estate are showing you, I can see it in the numbers, how the loans work and how you can move it into assets. And for me, the numbers like really made it start to sink in. And then at that point, just being discerning on where I was getting my financial advice from. And really, it becomes personal because although there's so many different ways to do it, like everyone has a very different risk tolerance as well. And so what may work for someone isn't going to work for your neighbor because they have different financial goals and they have different really financial responsibilities. And getting very clear on where I wanted to go helped me. And that analysis paralysis that I think a lot of people get stuck in of where they don't take action is that fear creeping in. And the best way to get over that is just really small little actions every single day. And then over there, you really build up the momentum and the muscle memory.
Yeah, that's really good. Nurse practitioners can view real estate as a long-term wealth-building strategy. It is not something that is abstract that you can't get involved in. Even if you didn't want to necessarily manage it yourself, there's so many options. And rather than just necessarily getting another side hustle, because if you get another side hustle, you got to hustle. That's the whole part of the side part is the hustling, right? What I'm hearing is educate yourself, be discerning about who tells you what to do with your money. Use your discernment on what you feel comfortable with risk. And then just realize that if you're wanting to diversify your money, you're going to have a level of boldness and not fear in anything that you do. And some things have less risk, and that might be something that you feel more comfortable doing. But to a certain extent, I mean, you got to take the leap, right? You just can't sit back and just wait for someone to rescue you. And so how do you get over that fear? How does somebody say, all right, this is what I'm going to do to find my why and to just keep going when I'm scared and I'm worried or anxious or whatever it is that they're feeling?
For me, it came down to going back to work after having my second daughter. And I had to go back to work when my daughter was 3 months old. And that was because California, when I was ready to go back to work, they deemed me ready and I didn't have a choice. I didn't have any other income coming in. So it wasn't a choice for me. I had to go back to work when my daughter was 3 months old. 3 months old, they're so little, like they're completely dependent on them. I was breastfeeding her and now all of a sudden I have to do an hour commute to work, spend 8 hours plus a 1 hour lunch, 9 hours plus the hour home, 11 hours away from her in a day. That night before I went into work, I was in my kitchen, a full blown panic attack, like pacing at 3 a.m. Like I didn't think I could do it. Like crawling out of my skin, just have never had that feeling before. And that low breaking point of feeling like I didn't have a choice was I'm going to do everything in my power to make it so I have a choice. I am going to do whatever it takes so I will not have to feel this feeling again. And so that I can be involved in my daughter's lives and I can have the choice whether or not. And it was when early on going back to work. So now my husband and I had two daughters under the age of 2, and kids get sick all the time. And both my husband and I had very demanding jobs. I was an RN administrator overseeing the cath lab, specials procedure, cardiac GI department. And when one of our daughters would get sick, it was almost an argument with my husband and I in the house of like who had to stay home with our kids because both of our jobs were very important. Like I hated that, absolutely hated it, and was like, I don't want this to be a part of our life. And so it was experiencing those little moments, like I think those low lows of I want my life to be different and I'm going to make a change. And then it becomes an opportunity cost. What's harder? What's harder? Is it 3 a.m., that panic attack in the kid, or spending 4 hours a night, 5 days a week, building a real estate business? Like ultimately, this is going to lead me to a life that I couldn't even dream of. It gives me so much more freedom to have control over my future.
And for everyone, their why has to be big enough to drive them into freedom. And for me, and I had a similar experience with the birth of my first son, that I didn't want to continue in this rat race either. It was a similar thing that led me to start the podcast. And you just don't know where it's going to lead you if your why is big enough. And then you end up in these relationships and you meet all these people all just from the what if it could be different. Once you get a taste of a little bit of time freedom, you're just like, oh my God, this tastes so sweet. I definitely do not want the money that you're going to give me for my time. It's just not a fair trade. And so pass. Once you realize that there is something else, that there is another way, that it doesn't just have to be what the world tells you, which is do your 30 years, then you get to retire. Because that's a conversation I had with one of the nurse practitioners. She was like, you just got to do your 20. And I was like, or you could just do 5. Like how she grinded for 5. I mean, like either way you're grinding, choose your grind, choose your hard, choose whatever it is. And again, I think that's the side hustle, right? That's the hustle that we're all doing in some way. And if you can just take a little bit of risk that you're comfortable with, you might be able to shorten that 20-year when advice do you have for a nurse practitioner to protect their investments from the market downturns and unexpected expenses? How do you, when you look at a piece of property, like even now, prices are falling in Florida in different ways. So you get people to invest in your real estate syndication, and then now the property doesn't appraise, or, how do you kind of hedge people's bets so that when they are giving you their money and they are trusting you with a big chunk of their retirement, how do you kind of hedge for some of that for the person that's like, all right, what's the downside? How do you know this is not going to just fall all apart?
Yeah. Well, I would definitely say diversify. So I would say the majority of nurse practitioners are set up with their retirement account at their employer that they're dutifully contributing to, hopefully, at least if matching. You want to do the match for sure. But diversify. I mean, there's other ways that you can invest and tap into different things. IRA, I mean, most of the time they're slotted into the same things, but that's why real estate investing is a great way to diversify. 90% of millionaires own real estate. It's in their portfolio. And so there's there's a reason that the mega wealthy are involved in it. A lot of different advantages that the stock market just really doesn't offer. And so, but even within real estate investing, you can diversify. So flipping is a way different risk than investing in multifamily syndications or mobile home parks. Even investing down in the Florida market is a lot different than investing up in the Oregon market or the California market. And so that's another thing about why I love real estate investing is so many ways to diversify just even within the asset class of
That's
real
good.
estate. And how we do this for investors is just investing in different markets, having different portfolios, investment options. You can be involved in multiple syndications. So that's one way that you can kind of hedge some of the risk, getting involved in different projects like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Because you don't, again, you can maybe give a little bit towards this project, maybe do your own thing with a property. You can kind of diversify. And like you said, if things are a little bit downturning in this space, hopefully they're upturning and you're kind of doing the, instead of investing in single stock, you're more a mutual fund investing and kind of hedging yourself from potentially losing more. So, and things are going to ebb and flow, right? This is kind of, the EKG of life. It just kind of goes up and down and up and down. And that just shows you're alive. We'll have to, again, just take the risk. Could you share a success story of someone that's invested in, real estate that you're like, listen, this is one of the investment properties that they had, and this is what we've been able to give people in returns. And so that people can kind of see what it is that they could potentially make with investing in your syndications.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, like 3 to 5 year holds is what we're looking at, that 100% ROI. We've gone full cycle on 3 out of our 8 buildings that we have. And to date, we've over delivered on all of our projections for investors, which always just
Wow.
feels so, so good. I mean, we're invested heavily in our deals, but we also have a lot of friends and family and like nurses and doctors that I work with. And so we're very, very invested in the best interest of all the funds. But I'm very happy to be able to surpass our projections on those. But we're looking for all of those actually got 24 to 25% average annualized returns on all
Wow.
of those buildings. Yes. And 2 of them we exited early on for investors. So we came out a couple of years earlier. We were able to return their capital to them. That always feels good. But yeah, I think for me, the stories that always touch my heart the most are the nurses that are doing these investments. And now because of the cash flow coming in, they're able to go from full-time down to part-time or part-time down to per diem. Like for me, that was kind of the whole reason I started doing it. So when I get those stories from investors and
So
just know that they've been able to achieve a little bit more freedom in their life just through these passive investments is just really, really powerful.
That's really cool. For the final question, for a nurse that's out there thinking, a nurse practitioner that's out there thinking about investing in real estate, and she wants to get your best piece of advice, the holy grail, what would you tell her in regards to what she might be thinking, and what would be something you wish you would have known going into this space?
Yeah, have the clear why. Like having that, what are your money goals? Like where do you want to be? Having that very clear vision is very important because if you lack that clarity, then you'll never know where you're going to go. And there's a balance between being open to possibility and what comes, but there is so much to be said about having a vision and having a goalpost that you're working towards.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, guys, Savannah, are you ready for rapid fire? Because
Rapid
we
fire,
do
let's
rapid
do
fire.
it.
If you could have somebody play you on TV, who would you have play you?
Ooh, Margot Robbie.
Guys, I see it.
Or Blake Lively. They're like,
Yes. Yeah.
girl.
Blake's been some stuff. My last guest said the same thing. And she was
Yeah.
like, wait, what? And I was like, okay, I feel like I'm like breaking this to people because they love her.
I have a huge crush on Ryan Reynolds, so that's really why I
Okay.
lean towards
Okay.
the
So you're
Blake
after
Lively.
her man. You're after her man. Okay. Got it. Got it. And then second question is, if you could give a book to someone, any book, what would it be? What's your like go-to? It could be on real estate or not, just any book that you love.
Okay, I actually got mine right here. So shameless plug at Passive Profits, how healthcare professionals can passively invest in real estate and retire
Love
early.
that.
I have this on Amazon for less than $1. Really short read too for all my busy healthcare professionals who don't have the time. I understand. I try to throw everything very, very condensed into this book. But Think and Grow Rich on there. That was one of the
So
first
good.
books I
Napoleon
read
Hill.
maybe like 10, 15 years ago. And just the ability to think about money and resource and wealth differently was very powerful.
That's so good. That's so good. And then for the last question of the podcast, rapid fire, what's your favorite order from your favorite restaurant? Like, what's your thing? I have to go here and I have to get this. What is it?
Oh man, a restaurant order. Ooh, the country club we go to has this amazing Thai salad that is just out of this world.
Yes,
I could go there twice a week and order the same thing and be cool with it.
Be happy with that. Awesome. All right. Well, tell people where they can find you. Check out all your stuff.
So I'm very active on social media. Instagram's probably my most active, but on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, yes, TikTok, networthnurse.co is my website. I have tons and tons of resources there over the last 5 years. Anyone who's asked for different downloads or I got blogs, different podcast episodes, stuff like that. So be sure to check it out.
She's a hustler. And for the Success MP quote of the day, it always seems impossible until it's done. Nelson Mandela. I love that.
Ooh.
That was like so true. Because again, like I said, it seemed impossible at the very beginning of you doing all this stuff. And now look at you, Savannah. You've just grown so much. It's so neat to see your journey. I think it's wonderful. So thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Sandra. It's my pleasure.
Yes. All right, friends, be well. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Success NP. We hope today's discussion has shed some light on the diverse career options or taught you how to improve your clinical practice as a nurse practitioner.
Remember, whether you're considering a specialization, pursuing advanced certifications, or exploring non-traditional roles, there's a wealth of opportunities out there waiting for you. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode and leave us a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. The Success and Peace podcast is on the World Wide Web, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X. So subscribe to our newsletter for updates on new podcast episodes and other information to help you on your own NP journey. You can always message us at successnpeacepodcast@gmail.com with any NP podcast episodes or topics you'd like us to discuss.
Until next time, take care. Stay curious and keep advancing your careers as a nurse practitioner. And just a friendly reminder, the information on this podcast is for educational purposes only. The information should not be used in substitute for professional care by a medical provider. The information on this podcast does not represent medical or professional advice or services.
Bye for now.